Today we get ready for the Land of Plenty performance task. This is a task that is about land surveying. Do you know what land surveying is? Do you know what a land surveyor does? Well, let's think about it a little bit here, and we're going to look at some pictures and some situations to kind of get an understanding of what a surveyor and a survey is. Here's a picture of two men standing in the middle of a road surveying the land. One man is holding up a map, and they're both looking at it. Next to the man is a leveling instrument mounted on a tripod, a three-legged stand. A cone is in the middle of the road in front of them there, and they're probably trying to figure out how far something is. What we're going to do here, what these land surveyors do, is they try to measure distances and heights without actually having to go across a busy freeway or swim across a river or something like that. A land surveyor uses special tools to measure the size of a piece of land. He or she does some math calculations after taking the measurements, and then creates a scale drawing of the property with the dimensions and area marked. This process is called land surveying. One reason you would want to know how much land you have is for tax purposes. Landowners pay property taxes on how much land they owe. If the land is used for agricultural purposes, it may be taxed at a lower rate. Another reason that you would want to know how much land you have is to know what you could build or fit on the land. If you had a really large piece of land, what could you build on it? So these guys here might be trying to figure out, how much land is out here in this direction. We've got a big chunk of land maybe. They might be looking across here, sighting another guy with a pole here and doing some trigonometry, doing some geometry and figuring out what is that distance going on over here. And so real useful tool to be able to figure out the distances and the shape of a large piece of land. We might have a large piece of land here, and you might say, hey, we want to build, let's see here. Okay, maybe we want to put a swimming pool in over here. All right, that's a little swimming pool, I guess, compared to these guys. All right, so here's our little swimming pool, and let's make it blue. All right, maybe we want to put in a baseball field or something like that over here. We got to know, hey, do we have enough room for that baseball field so we can hit home runs into the swimming pool, so on and so forth. All right, we might make a track or something like that, something that takes a large space, and we would need a surveyor to come out and be able to find those different measurements. In this figure, we've got a large rectangular shaped swimming pool filled with water. Around the outside we have a deck out here. Might be tiled or concrete or something like that. And we might need to figure out how many tiles we need around this pool, or how much concrete do we need. And it usually would make a walkway the same width all the way around. Drawings can sometimes look a little different, but because of their perspective. But in this case, we'll assume that this is the same distance all the way around. This walkway might be 2 feet wide or something like that. So if you were building a swimming pool on your land, what are some things that you would need to consider before building? You might need to think about the length of the pool, maybe the width, maybe how deep that pool is going to be. Are you going to have enough be able to remove all that material? Going to get a tractor in here to dig out this pool if it goes down in the ground a certain distance here? What if we're building a deck around this pool? Well, we might need to figure out how many tiles. What if we make these kind of some square tiles here. And we're going to tile it around the pool. How can we easily figure out? Well, we can use lots of algebra. That's a useful tool. Figure out how many tiles we need around there. Or what if we need some, we want to find the number, the amount of cement. Well, if we're going to pour cement, we need to figure out the volume of the actual cement because a cement slab has a 2-inch thickness. Or maybe something along that. So we can figure out the actual volume of the cement so we can go to the cement company and order a truck that has the right amount of cement. So these are some things that we might want to figure out when we're building a swimming pool and a deck around it. Here we have a picture of a soccer field, maybe something else we want to put in that big piece of land we're thinking about. And the picture shows a soccer field from a top aerial view, and we've got a shape as a rectangle and has some markings around the corner. You may or may not be familiar with the game of soccer, so here's a few things that are useful. There is a vertical line that cuts the length of the rectangular field in half. That's the midline. And we got some goals over here. So the goals are centered on the lines of the opposite widths of the field. Around each goal is a small rectangle that is drawn inside a bigger rectangle. These are special lines that tell the players where they can touch the ball and so on and so forth. Both rectangles have one of their lengths on the line of the field's width here. So this end line, this goal line here. In between the two rectangles is a dot that is centered with the goal. So this dot is right in the center of the field, centered between these lines. The dot is called the penalty mark. Outside the big rectangle is an arc, which is a piece of a circle that's centered on the penalty marks. This arc right here is centered on that. So if we were to continue this circle around, not a greatest circle, but it would be centered on that there. Okay? So that's what's going on there. And the arc begins and ends on this big rectangle here, the penalty box there. All right, so there's a few things that will be good to know about a soccer field for the Smarter Balance test. So if you were building a soccer field, you need to make sure that the land is covered in grass in the area that you would like to build. If there's no grass when someone is building a soccer field, sometimes they will install what we call sod, S-O-D, sod. And so we got to get some sod, bring in the grass to cover all this up. This image shows sod being rolled onto a yard. Sod is a piece of earth with grass and roots growing in it here. People put sod on a field or lawn so they don't have to wait for the grass to grow. Or if grass is unable to grow in that area, they'll use sod. Where have you seen sod? Maybe in yards, someone's yard around your house. Maybe somebody redoes their yard and they want to put some sod. We might think about, what if we have a rectangle and we want to fill it full of sod? Well, let's say that rectangle is, let's say it's 15 by 10 feet. And we want to make this a nice grass area. Well, we know the area is 15 by 10, which is 150. So let's say we have some sod that is 2 feet wide. So sod is, you can think of it as a continuous roll. And this roll goes on forever. I guess this would be bluegrass since I'm using blue. All right, so we've got, let's say this is like a 2-foot roll. Now we can cut sod, we can change the size of it, we can make all different kinds of pieces, but this is the way it comes. So how long of a strip would you need if you wanted 150 square feet of area? Well, that just means we need a big strip of grass where x times 2 is 150. And I think we can see, divided by 2 on both sides, that x is 75 feet. So if you want to cover 150 square feet, you would need 75 feet of this. Even though you might say, wait a minute, that's an odd number. Well, that's okay. We can take a strip of this and cut it down the middle, and we'd make it all fit, and at the end we'd have a little skinny strip down here. So anyways, that's how sod works. And so there's some important things that a surveyor or somebody that's developing an area of land might need to use to accomplish their task of making a beautiful area for people to use. And there's some things you might use on your Smarter Balance test, on the performance task.